Hi, my name is David Isaacson, founder of Merlin's Magical Mystery School and Healing Temple on the web at spiritportal.org. In this video, I'm going to be covering the subject of sexual integrity, sexual energetic integrity. We've seen a lot of this subject brought up now in the media with the Harvey Weinstein situation. This is a very pervasive problem that's been going on for a long time. The core of it is that very few people are able to really hold the container of their sexual energy. And as I mentioned in the previous video about the container of our innermost heart, and that's actually a container, that when these containers are broken, and usually through trauma, things can come in and come out, that there's no sense of boundaries, of clear boundaries, and without clear boundaries, we kind of lose a sense of self and a sense of purpose and direction, and we become confused and afraid and insecure. And so on, on the level of the sexual container, which is, I would say, the second chakra area, the lower chakras are, all of the chakras can lose integrity. And as a healer, it's critically important that I have really strong, clear boundaries and strong containers on all levels, because when I'm working closely with people's energies and their spirit, if I don't have integrity, then what's within me gets bled out into the other person that I'm working with, and vice versa. What's within them goes into me, and that's not appropriate, not ideal. My healers tend to end up working, picking up stuff from their clients, processing out their stuff, because on one level or another, there's a lack of integrity, and it's important to identify, to find where that particular container is broken, or perhaps non-existent, perhaps never had, perhaps never throughout the course of the soul's existence been firmly established. People who are very empathic and always picking up on other people's energies and stuff have this really problem with that. People who are promiscuous, going from one relationship to another. There's so many different examples on different levels. Sexual integrity. So this is a particular container that's in the sexual, down here. And so while you are watching this video, kind of focus on that space in yourself. I'm kind of mirroring that for you, what that's supposed to look like, feel like. And probably you don't have that in yourself. Very few people really do. Every time that you have sex with somebody, or you share some kind of intimate moment, you're opening that up and sharing your energy with them and their energy with you. Not just energy, but also stuff. You can share each other's, it's kind of like a energetic version of communicable sexual disease. You pick up each other's diseases, not just physically, but also energetically. So it's like picking up other people's karma. And that you have it in your system, in your field, you become responsible for it. And you have to work through it. The work that I do with my clients is to help clear this stuff out on different levels, so that they can start to get a sense of their own self, develop their clear boundaries, clear container on different levels. So the sexual level, again, is just one very, very important one as we're functioning on this physical reality. It's very easy to lose our integrity there. There are also levels of lack of integrity. I mean, every container that we have, there's a risk of losing integrity with our heart space, with our soul space, with our ancestors, with our physical bodies, with our. There's just so many. There's so many different spaces and levels and aspects. So anyway, we're focusing on the sexual. So when we're holding this space and focusing here, there might be come to mind people that you've been intimate with. Sometimes willingly, sometimes it has been a forced, violent exchange. Perhaps you've been abused or raped, or abused and raped somebody else, purposely or inadvertently. When one is still kind of focusing that space with you. This is one of the dangers of drugs and alcohol, because that they tend to play with open up one space on one level or another, and you lose your sense of, you lose this container, you lose a sense of self, and by losing the integrity of your container, anything can come in and out. And so taking drugs or alcohol or other substances, they may give you a sense of relaxation or ease, or open you up to certain new experiences. But this is a two-way street. Yeah, you might open up and connect with something outside of yourself, but it's also an open invitation for what's outside of yourself to come into you. And once the door is open, it's very hard for that door to be closed. And I mentioned about the Kundalini energy that can blow some of these containers wide open. Yes, there we have an inner force within us that's very powerful and beautiful and amazing, a number of different forces. But for us to really be able to work with that, we have to really have a strong container on all these different levels. If you, the Kundalini energy is like a nuclear power, and the containment has to be immaculate. If there is a crack anywhere or a leak, it can be disastrous. So that's why the preparation work, the clearing and healing, takes many, many years and great effort, traditionally, before people's Kundalini were activated. Now it's happening right and left, and people are not prepared, not clear, not strong enough to hold that. And they're losing themselves, their energy is leaking all over the place, they're picking up all kinds of stuff. And that energy has to flow in a certain, our energies have to flow in a certain way, certain pattern, um, that's unique to each person. But and if there is a distortion, if there's a lack of integrity on some level, that energy is distorted. Often, sometimes that energy will go around because you cannot hold it. Let's say your Kundalini or the sexual energy Kundalini is awakened and the energy goes up to a certain point. If there is on a certain level, let's say whichever level, let's say your second chakra, if there's lack of integrity, then that energy will not go within you, will not travel through you and go up into where it needs to go. It will go outside of your body, and it will go into somebody else. And there are plenty of energetic vampires out there on this planet and in spirit space who are black magic uses this kind of energy. They hook into people. Black magicians hook into people's energies on the Kundalini level, on the sexual level, on other levels, and they use that energy. It's like a food to them, and they source it and they manipulate with it, and they use it for their own purposes. They use it to attract other people into their lives, to manipulate reality, to manipulate those people around them. So this is a very, very dangerous, this is a real problem here on this planet and elsewhere. So we're still focusing on this container of the sexual energy. So it's very important that you have a really strong sense of this container. And I'm not saying to not be sexual with somebody, but you really need to be able to hold that space, and you can and not give up. You talk in relationships. Women talk about giving up their power to the man, and the man does that too, giving up the energies that's in their container. Some people believe that this is what marriage and relationships are about: is sharing everything, giving everything that you have to another person. But this is an old pattern. This is not appropriate. What we're presenting here is a different paradigm, the new and improved paradigm of relationships. Is that you can hold your own space and still experience. It's like when two people are complete and whole, the energy becomes magnified. But if you give up your power, if you give up your energy, then instead of the experience being magnified, you're diminished by it, and you lose. There's a sense of loss, sense of many people report that they've given. It's very hard to when you've been with somebody, and oftentimes and you're not with them anymore. There's a sense of obsession about them, that they have something. There's a deeper sense in knowing that they have something that's yours that you want to get back. You want to get your power back. So it's that you've actually given your energy to them, and they're holding it, they're using it, they're manipulating with it, they're playing with it, and it's not just sexual energy or the Kundalini energy. It could be your soul. Soul aspects, soul parts. This is something that we work with in soul retrieval. We go to those places throughout the universe and find your soul parts and bring them back from whomever or wherever they are being held through time and space. Could be in the past, could be in the future, another dimension, and bringing those soul parts back into you where they belong to fill you up. It's the same with sexual energy. And conversely, you may be holding soul parts of someone, you probably likely holding soul parts of other people, you're holding the sexual energies of other people, and so on, and so forth. And so that you need to be cleared and released of all the stuff that you're holding of other people, because when you're holding stuff of other people, that's preventing, that's filling those spaces where your own part, your own energy, and your own soul parts can't get in. They can't get in. It's blocked because something foreign is taking its place. So you need to be clear, and everything that you're holding of other people or other things in your space, and be released of that, and then we can bring in you, so that you can really be present fully, and fill your space. And this is people talk about protection, wanting protection. Yes, many healers put up walls or put up layers of protection to keep negative things out. But if you are, but that's just a symptomatic treatment. That's a band-aid. That when you are really imbibing, holding your own spaces, really occupying yourself from the innermost depths to the outermost layers, the outermost reaches of your being, there's no room for other energies or other entities to come in. There's just no space. They just can't get in because there's no holes. There's no empty places. And so you can walk through the valley of shadow of death, walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and fear no evil because you are present with yourself. Yeah, and this is on many different levels. I talk about levels and dimensions and so on because there are so many, and this lack of integrity can occur on so many different levels and spaces. So there's a lot of work. There's just a lot of work that people need to do. So still focusing on the sexual integrity. So when you have your own sexual integrity, then it will be very hard for somebody to, it's like you won't be inviting, there won't be an invitation or a vulnerability to be sexually attacked or abused or manipulated, because that the door is closed. Unfortunately, trauma is one of those things that not just drugs and alcohol, but certain traumas really can shatter the integrity of a space. So if you've experienced sexual abuse when you were a child, their boundaries are very permeable. They're like sponges. They haven't quite yet developed clear boundaries on many different levels. So it's very easy to, they're just open. So it's very easy to have, to receive, to be traumatized. Through violence, through war, through sexual trauma. There are many different kinds of traumas, heartbreak, the loss of loved ones. But sexual trauma, for somebody who's experienced sexual trauma at a very young age, these containers, this container, the sexual energy container, has not really been developed, and the doors are really wide open, and so such people walk through life kind of so open and receiving those unwanted attentions and receive those energies. So I'm presenting this, what is the sense about what a strong sexual container is like. And it doesn't really vary it may vary from man to woman, perhaps not. Men might have a different kind of container than women. I'm not sure if that's so, but it's possible. So if you're a woman, what I'm holding to you might be a little different than the container that you naturally essentially hold, but the idea is the same here. It is the same. The other thing about containers is that people have this belief system that if they're enlightened, or if they're empowered, or that they won't find love, they won't be loved, because people will not be, you will be inaccessible. People can't get through to you, or can't get into you, and that you will be alone. And so in the past, people have given up their power, opened themselves up to different people, to different situations, in order to feel not alone, because it's very hard to feel. Feeling alone can be very hard. But the thing is that we want to feel to be contained, to be of integrity, because when it is only then when we can really be strong in relationships and really really experience the depths of intimacy and still maintain a sense of self in them. Because if you lose yourself in a relationship, that's a slippery slope, and sometime later you will find, you ask the question, who am I? I don't know who I am. All I am is, for this other person. And that's codependent relationships. Lose sense of self, lose sense of control. That's not healthy. So you want to be able to experience freedom in relationships, and to be able to experience who you are as a complete whole being. And through that, you can, when you meet somebody else who is in that same space, the energy is magnified and it's intensified, and you become, instead of less of a person, you become more energized and more empowered, and it becomes a self-realization experience. And when you are when you really are able to hold your own containers, hold the integrity of your own containers, other people kind of get a sense of who you are, and that they realize that they can trust you because you will not. There's an intuitive sense, subconscious sense, maybe conscious sense that you will not control them, you will not take from them, that they can trust you. That's really important in relationships. That when they can trust you, they can be themselves. Another person can be themselves, and that's very, very healing. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? All right. So I hope you had gotten something out of this and had a sense about where you're at in your own container. You probably need some work, and be more than happy to. This is the work. This is what I do. One of the things I can help you with this. So, peace and blessings, love and light. Until next time.